Thank you all for joining us today. We're incredibly excited to have you with us here for the first pre-orientation session for AUP families. Just a couple of things before we get started. Please remember, since this is a Zoom meeting and not a webinar, to mute yourself at this point so that any noise in the background and so forth doesn't interrupt the meeting. The mute button is usually in the bottom left or at some other devices in the top left of your computer, and that way we can make sure that we have a smooth session ahead of us. Otherwise, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We'll try to answer them as best as we can. Otherwise, my colleagues will speak a bit later about where you can address your questions still in the weeks to come. Finally, as you heard at the beginning of the meeting is being recorded. If you don't want to be on the recording for any reason, please feel free to turn off your camera or leave the meeting as part of the invitation. And obviously, we want to provide the recording to all the parents and family members who can't be with us today so that they benefit from the same information that you will at the end of the session. Now, my name is Kilian Ordelheide. I'm the Director of Communications and Outreach at the American University of Paris, and I lead the Office of Communications and Outreach. With me today are two of my colleagues who I'll introduce in a minute. And myself, I'm an alumnus of the class of 2013 of the American University of Paris. So I can tell you that you and your student are truly about to embark on a one-of-a-kind experience with the American University of Paris. Since I studied at AUP some 10, 11 years ago, the university has undergone tremendous change and growth. We've completely renovated and modernized the campus in the 7th arrondissement that many of you will get to see and visit during parent orientation in just a couple of weeks. We've added 5 incredible interdisciplinary research centers that enrich the academic experience of all of our students. We've developed a number of key programs that you'll hear about during this process, the GPS program, the First Year Success program, and so many others that ensure that your student have the best possible time at AUP. We've grown partnerships with other universities, including USC, GWU, and Northeastern, to enrich our offering for students across the globe. And we've improved our student support services, particularly health and wellness and the academic support services to accompany the students all along their path on the way to becoming an alum of the university, just like myself. All of that to say is then that your student and you are going to be in good hands with us here at AUP. And alongside your student, we also want to welcome you as part of this pre-orientation and then the orientation program in Paris for those of you who can join us. Today is the first of 4 virtual pre-orientation sessions. Each of them, just like this one, will be recorded. So if you have to drop off early today, or if you're unable to attend one of the upcoming sessions, don't worry, we'll be sharing that with you via email and on social media. So you're going to have all the same information that all the other parents and family members have. Dana, my colleague, will also put in the chat the information for the upcoming sessions so that you can save that on your computer and you're able to join that at your leisure at that time. Now, without further ado, I also want to introduce a dear colleague of mine and AUP's new VP for Development and Alumni Relations, Courtney Stombach, who is with us today. She leads the outreach and advancement functions at AUP and joins us from most recently Emory University and previously the University of Cambridge. Courtney, I'll head it over to you.
Yeah, just a quick thank you for having me on today. Congratulations to all of your families on your admission to AUP, and I look forward to getting to know you all over the next few years.
Thank you, Courtney, for being with us here today. Now, for the core of the program, I will hand you over to 2 of my dear colleagues, Dana Callahan, who's our Family Relations Manager, and Jacqueline Oberdurster, who's our Director of U.S. Admissions, who will take you through the program today. Thank you again for being with us. I look forward to seeing you throughout the virtual orientation session. And then for those of you in Paris, I look forward to welcoming you on campus in just a couple of weeks. Over to you, Dana.
Thanks, Kilian. Hello, everyone. Welcome again to the AUP community. We are super glad that you're here. Congratulations to all of you for all of the things that you have accomplished in this season. High school graduations, transfer requests, visas, all of the things that you've gotten through in the last couple of months. We applaud you, we thank you, and we are so excited to welcome your students onto campus. We are in the final stretch. We are 11 days away from landing day and 13 days away from the second landing day. So this is very exciting. I am Donna Callahan. I'm the Parent Relations Manager here at the American University of Paris. I have 2 students at AUP. My son entered in the fall of 2018 and graduated in the spring of 2022. I'm very, very proud that it was 4 years. He was there during COVID. It was great. He is actually still a student at AUP as he will complete his master's degree this fall. And I have a daughter who entered in the fall of 2021, fully intending to be a one-year student, and she is now entering her junior year. So for those of you that have students that are visiting us for a semester or a year, your story could be my story, and you could be with us watching your child walk across the stage in 4 years, just saying. So my oldest is texting me right now because he left for the airport this morning. I will tell you, it does not get any easier. I still made sure that he had his passport and that he had his residency permit and that he packed his socks. So we're still doing the same things 6 years later that we were doing there. So right now, I'd love to introduce you to our Director of U.S. Admissions, Jacqueline Oberdoerster. Shaq and her team have been your students and your main point of contact during the admissions and this pre-arrival process. She's here today with some updates for you to kind of make sure that you check in with your students on before you all head out to join us at AUP. And then I'll come back and we'll talk about some pre-arrival things. We'll talk a little bit more about virtual orientation, in-person orientation, student orientation, and then just some general stuff. So Shaq, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. Okay, so my name's Jacqueline, Shaq for short, as you heard her refer to me, so that's fine too. I'm based in the United States, so both me and Donna, both based here. I know that we have parents from all over the world. I definitely see some faces I recognize here already, so parents you've already been working with, it's always just so nice to see you. I'm really excited to be here with you all today. So I'm here with just a few reminders, right? So my team is making sure that your students are onboarded and have everything done they need to do before they arrive in Paris in 11 days. These are going to be mostly some administrative, slightly boring things, but things that just have to get done. Some be for legal reasons. We don't want immigration or customs to kick them out. And others just so that when they arrive at orientation, if they have all these other things taken care of, then they can actually just focus on settling in, enjoying orientation, getting acclimated to Paris, to campus, meeting up with other students and faculty and advisors and everything they're supposed to be doing. So as long as they're taking care of everything ahead of time, they'll be able to get the most out of their orientation. The first thing I always have to talk about would be the French student visa application. So I'm sure the majority of us already have our French student visas. That's fantastic. For those that are not EU passport holders, if you're not already aware, they do have to go through a visa application process. This requires that they have a passport that's valid through at least 3 months past their first year of stay. So for anyone who's entering this fall for a full year, their passport must not expire before August 2024. They need to, if they are going to be 18 or over on arrival, then they need to do the first step, which is called the Campus France application. This is based on the country of residence. Not every country in the world uses Campus France, but United States, where we get over half of our students from, is a Campus France country. So they're going to need to complete a Campus France application that essentially just determines whether or not they're even eligible to apply for a French student visa. But this can take anywhere between 3 days and 3 weeks to process. If your student hasn't already done that, make sure they're in contact with their admissions counselor because we may need to potentially prepare for a late arrival. After that, and this is where minors will join us, and any non-Campus France countries, they need to complete the actual visa application. And then the third step is going to submit that application in person. So there's only 9 VFS centers in the United States. So most of your students have had to travel for this appointment. If you are having any trouble securing an appointment, you're not able to find availability, any questions with the visa process whatsoever, this is my team's thing. We've got it. We've seen all the visa emergencies that have come up. So please, please, please just make sure your student is in contact with their admissions counselor. Admissions at aup.edu will always get them directly to their counselor. So it's the quickest way. So with that being said, I have to do the spiel for make sure your student has their visa. Another important thing is you're all finalizing your travel plans is that your student is going to have a visa start date. Most of the time, it will coincide with what the date of their paperwork says. So for all of our incoming students this year, that's either going to be August 26th or August 28th. If their start date is before then that's fine. They can arrive before then. If their start date isn't until August 26th, for example, they cannot legally enter France before then. So this becomes problematic potentially for any students or families who are planning to arrive in France maybe a week or two earlier to get acclimated. So you just want to make sure that you are really paying close attention to that visa start date. Okay. With the visa stuff out of the way, your students have also been working through what we call the admitted student checklist, but it's on their AUP status page. This is the same place they confirm their enrollment. It's the same place where they rank their housing preferences. What it is it's a list of all those administrative things they just need to get done, right? It's reading and acknowledging our policies. It's doing placement testing like that. Again, the more they do over the summer, the less they have to do once they arrive on campus. So they want to get 100% of that done if possible. The most important things that I would recommend having done sooner rather than later are any necessary placement tests. The writing one, I'm going to push specifically because if they do not take that writing placement test by August 25th, then they're automatically placed in a class called EN 1010, and they might have to change it depending on their actual level when they get to campus. So that could mess with their schedule a little bit. So you want to make sure that they're getting their placement test done. It also includes a French placement test for all of our degree seeking students. The other thing is they're going to want to make sure they're uploading all their immigration documents. So birth certificates are really important. And for all of our students who are at AUP for longer than a year, they need to have that translated into French. And so there's a little bit of text, I think, on their AUP status page with recommendations. If they're having any trouble finding a translation agency or whatever that may be, again, an email to their admissions counselor, and we'd be happy to provide you with some recommendations. Our favorite, for example, is called Rush Translate, and they do it for less than $30 and they could turn around in about 24 hours. So this is a French government requirement. It's not an AUP requirement. So we definitely want to make sure that they're doing that before they arrive. Once they receive their visa, they want to make sure they're uploading that. Health forms are also going to be really important. We want to make sure that those are done. The two newest items that have opened up on their checklist as of last week, maybe 2 weeks ago at this point, are two steps. One is called the CVEC. Can't remember exactly what that stands for, but essentially it's a French government student fee that every student must pay if they're going to be there for a year or longer. So for our fall only students, you do not have to complete it and you will not see it on your checklist. For everyone else, you do have to do it. And we have the guide on the page, so you can just follow along with that. And what you're going to do is upload your attestation, which is basically your proof that you paid the CVEC. It's not your receipt, it's something different. And what this government or what this fee does is actually gives them access to some French government student benefits around France. But I think my favorite would be the fact that in Paris, it gives them access to what's called the Croûte de Paris, which are these like restaurants, these student cafeteria restaurants. Because as you may know, AUP does not have a meal plan, right? We have a cafe on campus, but it's not like a traditional US university meal plan. So these student cafeterias, there's one in every arrondissement, and it gives them access to meals for as cheap as €1, €2, or €3. And they can also buy a couple, they can take them home, store them in their housing, whatever it may be. So that's probably one of my favorite benefits. There's probably more as well, but that's always the one I like to let students know about because I think it's one of the most beneficial. In any case, they're going to have to complete the CVEC. The other thing that just opened up were some pre-orientation videos. Essentially, they just have to log on, watch 3, 4, 5 videos, and just check a box acknowledging that they've read them. It goes over things like opening a French bank account and you're getting your Metro Pass, which even though the video is on there now, they're not actually going to take care of this until they're in person. So they don't have to do that now. They just have to watch it and be aware of what they're going to have to do. Things about just kind of finding your place at AUP, just various videos that will kind of help them get acclimated before they arrive. So those 2 new things that opened up previously.
Can I jump in really quickly? There's a couple of questions in the chat regarding translation of the birth certificate. Does the birth certificate need to be translated through an official translator, or would Google Translate work?
An official translator.
Okay, perfect. And that is for students that are staying for more than 1 year. So if your student is visiting with us for a semester or a year and then transferring away, no worries about that. That's for our degree seeking students. Perfect. I did also just want to hop in really quickly. I'm sorry, I'm ruining your flow, but
no, you're good.
Questions and whatnot, if you can lob those into the chat, we will get to as many of them as we can. Since we are recording, we will also reach out to you directly after the event if we don't address your concern right here. Okay, back to you, Jack.
And I did just put in the chat, so really, I should have cleaned up the link ahead of time. It's a little bit ugly, but a link to the translation service that we like to recommend in the US. So that you have that there. And again, it should be pretty quick, less than 24 hours, pretty cheap, but they will need to do that before they arrive. Okay, so just a few more things. One is the packing list. So I'm not sure if you're aware, but your students have a packing list already on their AUP status page. So if they navigate to that, there's a set of tabs on top. One is called Your Arrival. And if they open that up, it's going to open up all the things that we recommend they bring with them. The things that we recommend they leave at home, a list of administrative documents to bring. I know that's been a common question on like the parent Facebook group, for example, is sort of what sort of document should they arrive in France with. So I'll start with that one. In short, we like to recommend that they bring anything that they use for their visa application. So it'd be your letter of acceptance. It'd be your proof of accommodation. For minors, it's your certificate of insurance. You know, all those things we do like to just ask you to keep them in a folder and bring them with you. Carry it on with you to the plane, just in case you need to present that at the border. And then as far as everything else, we say for the most part, just clothes and toiletries, right? Everything else is going to be provided. Even if your students are using off-campus housing, most of the time, those are also coming furnished. So things like bedding, towels do not need to bring. Things like dishes, cutlery, pots and pans also don't need to bring. If there's anything else that they may need, maybe I think some of the residences have coffee makers, some don't, right? If you need to bring a straightener, a hair dryer, those types of small electronics, things like that, we like to recommend that they just purchase once they're in Paris. Then you don't have to worry about voltage issues. So, you know, duvets, all of that, do not pack. Everything's going to be provided. If in the event that they're not happy with what's provided, then at that point they could go, there's a million stores around Paris, so they could purchase something relatively inexpensively to furnish the apartment the way that they would like. I do want to say, as far as medications go, if there's any questions about medications whatsoever, email the admissions counselor who will put your student in contact with the health office, especially if there's questions about will this medication be available in France and whatnot. But you're going to want to, if possible, carry a semester supply with you in the carry-on. You do not want to ship those to Paris. It will take forever to get through customs and probably won't be there in time before Christmas. So you do want to make sure that you have all your medications on hand. Sometimes there's issues with insurance companies, right? They only can dispense about a month's worth at a time. Usually a phone call to the insurance company to explain the situation. They tend to be a bit more understanding and can release a whole semester's worth at once for the student to bring with them. And again, if they can't, we'll put them in contact with the health office and they can organize that with our very informed staff. I think just the last thing I want to say is boarding passes. They're going to want to make sure that they hold on to their boarding pass. They're going to need that to validate their visa during orientation. If it's a screenshot, that's fine. You know, the electronic, the wallet, Apple Wallet, whatever those may be, that's fine. If it's a paper one, of course, that works too. So you just want to make sure they're not getting rid of those, not deleting those or anything like that. They will need that once they arrive. Okay, and I think that that's my kind of laundry list of items I wanted to make sure I went over. Donna or Killian, are there any questions that have been coming up in the chat that you would like me to just take live real quick that are about anything that I've talked about?
Please. Yes, please. Shuttle from the airport. Is the shuttle sign up on their status page now?
It is not active yet. That should be active, I would say, within the next week. It is, so there is a shuttle that we organize to pick up students who are arriving solo. So it's not for entire families. It's only the students arriving by themselves to Charles de Gaulle Airport. I think if they arrive it's probably between like 7 a.m. and 5 p.m., something along those lines, they can secure a spot on the shuttle and that will take them directly to their AUP residence. So remember, their arrival date is nothing but settling into their housing. They don't have to be on campus yet. If they're living outside of AUP housing, they can choose, there's going to be a list of residences to choose from, so they can research whichever one's closest to wherever they want to, wherever they're going to be living, and then they can get dropped off relatively close and then maybe just Uber from there or walk if it's close enough. So that will open up in the next week.
Perfect. Visa validation will actually be done once the students hit campus. You do not need to worry about, you as families do not need to worry about validating the visa. We will take care of that as part of orientation. So I know there's a couple of questions about the codes that need to be used, and we will actually, the immigration office will help your students with that. The health, you referenced the health documents. Where are those? Can you tell us one more time?
Yeah, so on the AUP student, on their AUP status page, so again, that same place they confirm their enrollment, they're finding the visa instructions, everything's on there. There's a tab called Visa and Health. So they'll want to click on that, and then there's a step with their health forms. There's also a place to request accommodations if they need learning accommodations while at AUP. They're all kind of lumped together in the same area.
Perfect. And the shuttle dates will be the 26th and the 28th. So if your student is arriving outside of those dates on their own, you will need to arrange transportation for them, or have them take the metro or take a taxi from the taxi stand from the airport. Again, if you email your admissions counselors specific questions, specific things to your student, admissions@aup.edu. We'll drop that into the chat so you've got it. I'm sure that you all have it noted already. You can also send to me. I'm at parents@aup.edu, and I'm happy to answer as I can, as well as get you back to admissions, or get you to the people that need to answer your questions. I'm just going to dive right into my little presentation. So Jacqueline, thank you so much. You and your team have done an amazing job. We are super, super, super excited to welcome everyone on campus, and we appreciate all of the hard work that you have done, will continue to do, and AUP is grateful. So thank you. Thank you. So, all right, as we all get to Paris, this time might feel a little bit different. This time heading into Paris might feel a little bit different than it has in the past. Or maybe your family is like my family. We had never traveled in Western Europe. I'm Eastern European. You can tell by my maiden name, and my husband is Irish, and we had never set foot in the country of France. So, when you're landing and your kids are going to be living there, you look at things a little bit differently. You're looking at where's the metro station and where are the grocery stores, and that's awesome. And we hope that you have a fabulous time looking at Paris through a new lens, the lens of living in Paris. We have a parent and family cafe society that we hope you will all join. More information will be out about that soon, but I do host monthly coffee chats where we talk about things for you, talk about things for your students. And one of the things we do talk about is culture shock. And this arrival in Paris this time, there is going to be a little bit of culture shock. There was culture shock for me. It's beautiful. It's like a Disneyland set. It's amazing. So any new adventure is going to be exciting and challenging. So just again, deep breath. It's going to be amazing and wonderful. Student orientation begins when your student moves into the AUP housing. So on either the 26th or the 28th, when your child comes in and signs their contract and gets their keys and goes and meets their roommate, or meet the people that live on their floor, that is when orientation begins. They are going to be busy. They are going to be busy forming connections. They're going to be busy learning about their new living space, about their new neighborhood. They're going to be busy kind of becoming an AUP student. We've talked a little bit in this about how we have students that are here for a semester, and students that are here for a year, and then students that are here for their whole college career. While your student is at AUP, your student is an AUP student. They may be planning to do something else. They may be visiting from somewhere, but while you're with us, you are an AUP student. And so you're part of our family, and you are all part of our family and part of our community now as well. So our student development team and their student advisors have been working really hard to make sure that everyone has the best entry and onboarding plan as possible. So just know that your student is going to be very busy, and they're going to, while there will be time to hang out with you, I'm not saying you have to run away from them. There just might not be as much time as we would like to have. Still have that problem. Shaq talked a little bit about the packing list. I know how hard it is not to overpack. I do. I have many, many large suitcases, and I have paid many, many overweight baggage fees. I do encourage you really to underpack. Buy appliances when you get there. Wait to see what's in the apartments before you purchase stuff. Remember that whatever you bring in, you do have to take out. It's kind of a leave no trace kind of deal. So my son in 2018, like, he's a typical boy. He's like, yeah, I don't care. I don't need anything. I'm good. I have my spoon and I have a blanket. And we were like, cool. 4 or 3 years later, when my daughter was moving out, I had to get a storage unit. So for students that are staying, We do have options to help you store your things if you don't want to get rid of all of it. I know it's weird to talk about the ends before we've even started, but just something to keep in mind. AUP is a green campus. Sustainability, recycling, that's a big deal for us. So that also extends to our housing. So just try not to pack too much. During orientation, there were some questions, I did see this in here, about taking care of practical things, cell phones, bank accounts, Imaginaire, Metro cards. All of those things are going to be taken care of during student orientation. We will also talk more about these items in the next 3 sessions. So the session that we're holding on Thursday will be a webinar with our GPS program, student campus programs, and also our academic resource center. So we will have members of those 3 departments coming to chat with you about kind of what resources are on campus for your students. The following week on Tuesday, we've got a safety and health presentation. We've got our Dean of Student Development as well as our health office ladies coming to speak to you about kind of just general safety and health, and how to use the health insurance and kind of what is available and how we support students both holistically while they're on campus. Our final presentation will be on Wednesday, the 23rd. That will be when we talk to our housing residential life manager, as well as our student development help desk coordinator. And we'll be talking about what to expect on landing day, move in, what all of that looks like, what your student can expect, kind of what you can expect for what the process is going to look like when you get to each of the housing, wherever your housing is, what to expect on that, and then also kind of what their orientation is going to look like. I do want to say this just out, students that are with us for less than a year. So if someone is with us for a semester or only 1 year and planning to transfer to a partner institution, they do not need to worry about opening a bank account. If your student is staying with us for more than 1 year, a bank account is required. It is part of the process to get your residency permit for France so that you don't ever have to deal with the visa process again. I highly recommend, and we'll cover that in another program. I know we've had a lot of questions about SIM cards and about how to get SIM cards, or should we get a SIM card earlier? So going to the free store, so it's free mobile, it's not actually free, but it's almost free. Students get unlimited talk and text and data, and it's about €20 a month. They can put that on a US credit card. It is a really fantastic, service. That is kind of a rite of passage. It's a weird tradition to have, but there's a little bit of a tradition of going to the free store with all of your new friends and your student advisor and getting your SIM card, and it's kind of the first step into daily French life. So while you can absolutely get a SIM card beforehand, you can get one at the airport, you can go to the free store on your own. It is kind of cool to let your student do that on their own with their group and kind of have that tradition happen for them. Do please make sure that their phones are unlocked for that. So like I said, in upcoming sessions, we're going to talk about orientation and landing, and we'll talk more about the Metro card. That's something else we'll help them take care of during orientation, so you don't need to worry about logging in and doing any of that or navigating any of it. Okay, so we have been communicating with you through information that your students have provided to us. And I know that my son knows what my email address was in 2018, and I might have changed my email address since then. So I would encourage all of you to head on over to the AUP Parents and Families page. I can't talk and type at the same time, you guys, my brain just doesn't do it. But I will drop the email, or I will drop the link for the Parents and Family webpage into the chat in just a minute. Over on the left-hand side of the page, it's a start here, and the very first button is update your information. So if you could all go there and click on that and just put your information in there, that way we'll be able to communicate. We'll have your correct email address. We will send you things like the Parent Compass. We've got, when we have upcoming events, we've got our Parent and Family Weekend that will be coming up in October, and we'll be sending more information about that. So if you could update and give us your communication preference there, that would be awesome. So I'm going to put my mom hat on for a couple minutes because I am a parent, and I empathize with the time zone, and I understand that I get text messages, I get phone calls, and sometimes I have to really bite my lip and not hop on a plane and race over to Paris to fix it. So I encourage all of you to download WhatsApp. I encourage you to ask your friends and family to download WhatsApp. WhatsApp is really a great way to communicate with your students while they're over there. Students on campus use WhatsApp a lot. There's a lot of that's how clubs will get in touch with their club members. Lots of communicating through the WhatsApp groups and whatnot. So it's also great because your kid can use their US number as their contact number. So for their friends that they make in France, they've got their French number as well as their US number. So I'm a big fan of WhatsApp. I'd also love for you guys to start thinking about, start talking to your kids about what communication is going to look like while they're over there. I mean, are you going to be available 24 hours a day? I was available 24 hours a day. I was not getting any sleep. It's like having a newborn again. We decided after about 3 weeks of being in France that it would be great to have a weekly check-in. And so we set a weekly time with our two, starting with Andrew in 2018. Our weekly check-in time is Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Paris time. And unless you are swimming in the center of the Seine or stuck under a freaking gargoyle at the Notre Dame facade, you had better be online with us. Some of our conversations are, deep and enriching, and we're all having a wonderful time. Some of them are just my two kids sniping at one another. Some of them are me doing something in the kitchen and they're doing something in their kitchen and no one's really paying much attention. And other times the dogs are just, online with them. So, but it's a nice touch point. It's a nice way to just kind of know that you've got that moment where you are going to reconnect. You are going to see their little faces. You're going to see what they're doing. I mean, we are now at the point with my son where the check-in is usually about 10 minutes. He will text during the week, he gets his stuff, we get answers, all that good stuff. But it's a nice thing to have. So I encourage you to talk to your kids, see if that works for you. Think about what communication is going to look like. We did send out a link for the parent resource guide as well. I know that there was an incorrect link sent at first. We apologize for that. Again, I'll drop this in the chat or email it to you right after. There's some talking points at the end of each of the sections in the parent resource guide. So take a look at those, start some conversations, just, things to think about and talk about as we take this next step. I just really want to say to all of you that, again, I said this at the beginning, congratulations. This has been a big deal. This is a big deal for you. This is a big deal for them. I actually think it might be a bigger deal for us than it is for them because I don't quite think that they understand the magnitude of what they're doing. But you've done it and they've done it and they are super capable and we are super capable. And I know that that you love your kids and you're going to be their soft place to fall and they're going to tell you the good and the bad and the ugly. And we're here to support them. We're here to support you. And congratulations. I'm super, super happy for all of you. So that's my TED Talk. Thanks for coming. Do we have Shaq and Killian, do we have questions that we want to, is there anything I can answer? I don't know that I can answer any questions.
Nothing huge. I'm kind of going through and just answering them as they come up. I'm not seeing anything. Killian, are you seeing any themes?
No, I think it's just important to reiterate that if we haven't gotten to your question yet, we will. We get a transcript of the entire chat after the session. And so we'll go through and make sure that everyone who hasn't gotten their question answered will email you or reach out to you in another way to make sure that that you get your question answered as well. So please don't panic if you haven't heard from us yet, you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm West Coast. I'm typically online from 6 a.m. and then I keep an eye on my email until about 6 p.m. I'm not always right at my desk, but send me an email at parents@aup.edu if there's anything that you have questions on. Landing day, there is a question about landing day. Landing day for our transfer and degree seeking students, so students that will be completing their degree at AUP or plan to complete their degree at AUP at this time, will be August 26th. Students who are visiting or on a partner program with us, first year abroad, first semester abroad, spring scholars, any of those, your landing day is Monday, August 28th. I will look forward to seeing some of you at some housing that has yet to be determined because they don't tell me what I'm going to do until I get there. I will also say I'm getting on a plane on Thursday, so I am excited to see all of you. Shaq, can you explain the CVAC one more time? Because I don't quite understand it.
Yeah, so the CVAC, I cannot remember what it stands for. CVEC essentially is a French government requirement of any student in France who's there for longer than a semester. It's about 100 euros, and it gives them access to a variety of benefits across France. My favorite benefit is, of course, the Croix de Paris, which are student cafeterias. There's one in every arrondissement. I will say some of them are only open to particular university students. Like I think there's one that's specific to Sorbonne students, another one for Sciences Po, but about half of the ones in Paris are open to all students. So they'll want to pay for this CVAC fee, upload their attestation, like their proof of having the CVAC. During orientation, there's a session where they get more information about it. So there is a process to receive like a card. It's like an ISLI card. They need it connected to a French phone number. It's this whole process that's all going to be taken care of during orientation. I did pop in the chat a few times for some parents that had asked the actual website to the Croix de Paris. So you can take a look at that and see if it's something you might be interested in. If you're a one semester student, remember, anyone who's there for a year or longer, it's a requirement.
Perfect. And I can go ahead and we can update the parent website with that as well. It will not be done until tomorrow, but we will do that. We did have a question in the chat that is one of my favorite questions, which is, can my student change from a one-year student to a four-year degree seeker? And what is the process for that? And the answer is yes. And Shaq, what is the process for that?
It happens so often that we've had to come up with an internal process for it. What they're going to want to do is just talk to their advisor. So if they decide they do want to stay on, we have a really simplified process. They likely will not, they don't need to reapply or anything. We make it as simple as possible for them to be able to stay at AUP. So they'll just want to make sure they're talking with their academic advisor, whom they will meet during orientation.
Yes, absolutely. I know there was also a couple of questions about food and about a dining plan. AUP is unique in that we do not have a dining plan. However, it is Paris, and there are lots and lots of very affordable cafes. Groceries are reasonably priced. All of the student housing does come with kitchenettes, fully equipped kitchenettes. My sweet son was a Boy Scout, and he was like, I'm gonna learn how to cook. And he really learned how to cook during COVID because he couldn't go out to eat anymore. And just for any of you that are wondering, you can Uber Eats 3 times a day. So that is always an option. Not maybe the best option, but it is always an option. Again, in the parent resource guide, we do talk a little bit. One of the talking points for you and your student is to talk about talk about budgeting and talk about that. We also share the physical activity and wellness office does do, they do little things, little outings where they take students to a market and then they go back and teach them some cooking stuff. So lots of options around that, and don't be scared, they won't starve, I promise. All right. Where are we at? Do we have,
Could you go over
hands up?
Could you go over the Could you possibly go over the shuttle information again as to what dates that available? And will it be available for people who are residing on off-campus residents?
Yep. So again, to reiterate, so the shuttle is for students that are arriving by themselves. So only the student can sign up for it, not the whole family. It's available on August 26th and August 28th. So all of your students are arriving on one of those 2 dates. The shuttle request form will be available on their AUP status page. It's not available yet, but should be so in the next week. So if they are interested in reserving it, they'll want to go ahead and do that. There's going to be a drop-down menu of all the different AUP residences where they indicate where they would like to be dropped off. So if your student is not using AUP housing, that's fine. They can still use the form. They'll just want to research and choose the residence that's closest to wherever they're living.
All right, there are a couple of questions about gyms. We don't have a gym on campus. We have a wellness room on campus for meditation and yoga and all that good stuff. We do have partnerships with gyms in the area, in different housing areas. More information will be shared about that during the Health and Life in Paris event that is next Tuesday. I don't have that information off the top of my head, but that is absolutely, and some of our residences do have gyms in them.
And I would just add that there's gym chains all across Paris, and the physical activity and self-care office provide reduced rates in partnership with a number of gym rates, so that your student can easily sign up through that office, and they will help with that to make sure that, you know, something nearby campus or something nearby the residence is available.
Could you please go over the translation part? My son is coming for a year, and I was wondering if we have to translate his birth certificate, I believe, before the orientation or during the orientation week. I was not clear on that.
So officially, it's okay if it's not done on arrival. However, it will free up their schedule and they will have less administrative things to take care of once they're in Paris if they take care of it ahead of time. So the Student Immigration Services Office does recommend they take care of it over the summer. It's just easier to do it then before the courses start and the office hours and the studying and all of that. So we do recommend they do it prior to arrival if possible.
Oh, so we live in San Diego. So how do we get that done? I'm sorry if there's a link or I maybe have missed in the chat.
Yep, I'm going to put it in the chat now. So there's probably a lot of different options, but the one that we like to recommend is called Rush Translate, RUSH. Again, they can complete it in less than 24 hours and it costs less than $30 US dollars. So that is our favorite. Students have had a lot of success with it. There's probably other ones out there, but this is just the one that we feel safest recommending.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe just one other comment with the number of questions we're getting on when and where student orientation for your students are starting. On the status page, there's a tab called Orientation that your students can click on and get the student orientation guide with details, depending on whether they're degree seeking or visiting students, on exactly where their orientation starts, where they need to be, what the activities are looking like for the entire week. So all of the details are in that guide, and that should answer any of those questions. Okay, I think we're coming to the end of the session here.
We are. So now is when I say that I will see you on Thursday, same time, same place. Actually, it's a webinar on Thursday. So this is the one time that we all get to see each other's faces until we meet either virtually. Again, going back to the Parent Cafe Society, we do have a parent group. We do meet via Zoom. We will meet in person. We do travel throughout the United States. I don't know what our travel schedule is going to look like, but we will let you know when we're going to be close to you. I do know that I should be in LA towards the end of September as we welcome some of our new alumni into the fold. You are an important part of our community. You have raised wonderful, wonderful children who are brave and taking this big, giant step. I mean, going to university is a big deal. Going to university out of the country is a big deal. Going to the university in a country where you don't speak the language and you haven't maybe been to is a very big deal. So congratulations again to all of you. We look forward to seeing you at future events. We look forward to seeing you this year, and we wish you nothing but the best as you take this step. So Killian, any other last words? Jacqueline, any other last words for us?
No, I think go ahead, Chuck.
All right, everyone, thank you so much. Again, if we did not get your question answered in the chat, we will be in touch. And parents@aup.edu or admissions@aup.edu. Send us your questions. We're here to help, and we're so excited to see all of you soon. So thanks, guys. See you Thursday.
Thank you for joining today. See you in a couple of days.